Discover 10 spine-chilling, sinister cryptid encounters in haunted Kentucky's dark corners. The night was deep and heavy, cloaked in shadows that seemed alive. Jamie felt it gnawing at her, that persistent fear coiling tighter every night. She had seen the woods stretching behind their suburban home, seen the dark, twisted branches that looked like fingers reaching out. Folks at the diner always whispered about strange things lurking, their half-baked tales of creatures that lurked just beyond the light, hungry and unseen. "Did you hear about the cat that disappeared right from its own backyard?" her coworker Maggie asked one evening, eyes wide with that mix of disbelief and nagging dread. "Some say it was the Watcher." The name shot through Jamie like an icy knife. It wasn't just a story. It felt real enough to smell that rancid scent of something approaching, lurking in the dark. Each night after her late shift, Jamie would stand at her back door, staring into that thick blackness. Her heart pounded like a drum, each thump reminding her of her husband's absence. What if something was out there? She shook her head, trying to ward off the thoughts, but they clung to her like a second skin. Something sinister had taken root in her mind, just like the roots of those gnarled trees. As the days turned into unbearable nights, the unsettling howls and eerie rustling invaded Jamie's dreams, a constant background hum of terror. Lucas, her bright and curious 7-year-old son, walked to the bus stop like it was an everyday jaunt, but Jamie felt the air thickening around them. Her instincts screamed danger, but who would believe her? The neighbors shrugged off her worries, convinced she was losing it, a grieving widow overreacting to superstitions. She started researching everywhere, poring over dusty old records and dodging angry glances from the old-timers. In whispering circles, she found fragments of chilling accounts, shadowy figures that lured away children, and the dreadful myth of the Watcher, a creature that never blinked, stalking victims from the darkness. Scratch marks on her door began to appear, deep and claw-like. The thought sent a shiver through her spine. Disbelief twisted into a heavy dread that filled her with panic. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. It was all building to a terrible crescendo, like the strained rattle of a train speeding towards a wreck. It crashed when Lucas didn't come home one afternoon. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows, and panic swallowed Jamie whole. She called everyone, neighbors, the local sheriff, who all treated her cries with scoffs and rolled eyes. Now, every rustle of leaves felt like a warning. She plunged into the woods, heart pounding, praying she'd find her son. Gnarled branches reached out to snag her, whispering their secrets. Symbols carved into trees appeared twisted, dark, like grim messages from a forgotten past. She could hear her son's laughter echoing dimly, taunting her from somewhere deep within. The Watcher was real, and she was no longer sure who to trust. As she ventured further, the forest closed in like the walls of a trap, and Jamie had to face the heart of a darkness more haunting than she ever could imagine. The stench filled her nostrils, panic clawing back, an instinct that reminded her, they might not be the only prey in this nightmarish landscape. Something was coming, and it was hungry. The deeper Jamie ventured, the more the air thickened with a chilling dread. The very atmosphere seemed to breathe around her, alive with whispers. Each rustle, each crack of a twig sent her heart racing, pounding against her ribs like a frantic bird trying to escape. Her breaths grew shallow, tinged with the metallic taste of apprehension. "Lucas!" she shouted, her voice breaking the oppressive silence. It echoed, swallowed by the encroaching gloom. The laughter she had heard moments ago was gone, replaced by a heavy stillness. She crouched low, straining to listen, every nerve in her body electrified. Then came the sound. A low growl, barely more than a murmur, slithered through the trees, wrapping around her like a serpent. Panic seized her. Jamie's mind raced. Had the Watcher come for her? What if it had taken Lucas? The growing unease welled into a burning need to find him before it was too late. She couldn't fail, she wouldn't that with each step, the forest darkened even more, a living entity watching her, judging her. The symbols she'd spotted earlier tattooed into the bark taunted her, their meanings twisted. They were reminders, lost children, warnings carved in the sad remnants of previous fears. The forest, an ancient arena of nightmares, closed in on her. Suddenly, she felt it, a gaze, heavy and predatory, fixing upon her. The sensation was like ice running down her spine. It made her skin prickle, an instinctual shout from deep within, but she didn't dare turn around. Instead, Jamie pressed on, panic fueling her legs, pushing through the underbrush, praying she would stumble upon her son. "Lucas! Where are you?" Her voice grew hoarse, desperation spilling over. Shadows swirled, contorting the trees into grotesque shapes, each darker than the last. It felt like the woods themselves were feeding off her fear, and then silence. A silence so profound it made her ears ring. Jamie halted, frozen. What if she was too late? What if something had already taken him? Her heart raced through a turbulent storm of emotions, fear, anger, despair. She wanted to scream, but the woods would swallow the sound whole, just like they swallowed every other frightened child. The movement came first, a brush of something against her ankle, just below her line of sight. She turned quickly, her heart leaping, breath caught in her throat. A dark figure darted between the trees, quick, skirting the edges of her vision. Not far away. Could it be her son? Lucas. The name tore itself from her lips like a lifeline, and she pushed through the tangled brush, wild instinct taking control. Yet, the moment she stepped forward, hesitation crept in. What if it wasn't him? What if it was the Watcher, playing with her mind? Suddenly, the low growl returned, more distinct, more menacing. It was close. It knew she was there. She stepped back, heart thumping painfully. Fear wrapped around her like a vice. Then, out of the shadows, something hulking and grotesque emerged, a shape cloaked in darkness, its eyes fixed on her. The gleam was unsettling, too intelligent, too hungry. All at once, it lunged. Jamie recoiled, stumbling back, her scream trapped in her throat. She had not come this far only to become prey in this wretched torment. Frantically, she searched for an escape, mind racing with a mix of horror and fierce resolve. But just as panic threatened to sweep her away, a flickering light flickered in the distance. The glimmer beckoned her, a fragile hope amidst chaos. She took a deep breath, adrenaline pushing her forward. She would reach that light. She had to find Lucas. As she dashed towards the glimmering beacon, a voice whispered through the trees, a chilling reminder of her own fear. You should have stayed away. Weathered roots twisted around her legs as she fought against the looming darkness. But the shadows deepened, pulling at her like they were alive, and it was hard to tell if the light was guiding her away from danger or deeper into the very heart of it. The Watcher was watching, hungering, and the woods had more secrets to reveal. What would Jamie find? At the light? Was it really salvation or something much darker? The flickering light danced in Jamie's vision, a fragile promise amid the oppressive shadows. Every hurried step felt like a dare against the lurking darkness. What if it was just an illusion, a trick of the forest meant to lead her deeper into the Watcher's domain? But Lucas needed her. She fought through doubt, fueled by desperation. As she ran, the underbrush clawed at her ankles, but she barely noticed, driven by the image of her son. Each laboring breath tasted acrid, the fear tightening its grip around her heart like a vice. The growl resonated again, vibrating through the ground, an echo of menace that coiled around her spine, paralyzing her momentarily. Just ahead, the light swelled, growing brighter, its warmth penetrating the chill. Was it a campfire? A safe haven? Or a baited trap? She steadied herself, tears squeezing from her eyes, refusing to be paralyzed by fear. Lucas! She cried. She was losing her voice, shredding it like paper, but she kept pushing. It had to be there. She had to believe. The woods grew thicker, and as Jamie stumbled into a small clearing, her heart caught in her throat. The scene was surreal. A circle of trees surrounded a fire pit, its flames licking the air, casting ominous shadows that wriggled like tendrils. Half-formed silhouettes moved just beyond the reach of the light, pausing, waiting. In the middle of the clearing, a figure crouched low by the fire, their features obscured by the smoke and flickering flames. "Lucas?" she whispered. But the figure turned, and a jolt of fear shot through her. The face, though familiar, was twisted, features elongated and sunken. His eyes glinted like polished stones, devoid of the innocence she knew. "Mommy," he rasped, voice hollow as if dragged through gravel. "Lucas!" she yelled, stepping forward, but instinct screamed for her to stop. He looked wrong, a puppet animated but not alive. "Come closer." His voice slithered like a whisper of wind through dying leaves, pulling at her. The shadows surged, weaving tighter around the tree line, as if waiting for her to make her choice. She could either step into the ring of light, only to risk a deadly embrace of whatever lurked within, or run back into the dark where the watcher lay. Suddenly, from the corner of her eye, something shifted. A shape darker than the night itself slithered through the trees, closing in. It moved with a fluidity that defied the very nature of things, a predator weaving through an ancient tapestry of fear. "Mommy!" Lucas screamed again, but it echoed, growing distorted, almost mocking. The fire flickered, casting spidery shadows that danced around her. Before she could react, the grotesque figure lunged from the trees, massive and ghastly, eyes glowing with a malevolent hunger. Jamie sprinted backward, instinct overriding thought, and in her flight, she caught a glimpse of the true terror, the true nature of the watcher. It wasn't just a creature, it was an amalgamation of nightmares, feeding on the pulse of fear that resonated within her. The shadows themselves twisted and shifted, pooling in the corner of her vision, dark hopes converging where the light fell short. Suddenly, Jamie remembered the symbols carved into the trees. Warnings. The lost. Broken. The realization hit like ice water. This wasn't just a search for Lucas, but a desperate scramble to escape the trap that had claimed countless before. "I want to let you take him," she screamed, the fire's light now dimming as the shadows surged forth. Footfalls thundered, the shape lunging at her, but just as it lunged, she spun, diving toward the flickering light. Would it protect her or consume her? Her breath hung heavy in her throat as she reached for her son, still crouched by the fire, his form becoming more distorted as shadows clung to the edges. "Mommy!" came the cry again, a siren call teetering on the edge of despair. The shadows closed in, drawn to her fear, tightening their grip. In that moment, Jamie felt the undeniable weight of a choice: dare to close the gap and seize her boy, or retreat, risking the unknown depths of darkness. What would she choose? What awaited her in the depths of that haunted, flickering light? Her heart thundered. Time slipped away as the air crackled with unspoken promises. Would she step into the fire or let the darkness swallow them both? The world around Jamie blurred as she lunged toward the flickering light, each desperate step heavy with dread. Shadows writhed like snakes at the edges of her vision, pulling at her, urging her to turn back, to abandon the doomed pursuit. The air grew thick, almost electric, as she felt a pulsating weight in her chest like a beating drum. "Lucas!" she shouted, her voice piercing the heavy silence. The figure by the fire cried out again, but it was a sound twisted by something dark, something unholy. He was still there, but he wasn't her son anymore. Not completely. The shadows wrapped tighter around him, feasting on the remnants of innocence. Jamie stumbled closer, heart racing, mind fogging with terror. The moment stretched, the firelight sputtering in a final desperate gasp before darkness swallowed it whole. She reached for Lucas, fingers brushing against cool skin that felt wrong, like a doll's. "Mommy!" Before she could grasp him, the grotesque figure lunged again, its jagged maw gaping, teeth glinting under the thin sliver of moonlight. Jamie's instincts screamed for her to run, but the visceral longing to save her son clashed violently with her survival instinct. Time stuttered, she felt the cold breath of doom against her neck as she spun, the horrors of the forest flooding back, haunting her. The Watcher. It was here, and it was hungry. Lucas. You need to fight. You need to come back to me. She cried, her voice cracking as she watched the flickering remnants of who he used to be vanish before her eyes. The shadows lunged forward, eager to seize her. Its hunger was palpable, clawing at her sanity, feeding off her despair. She bolted sideways, half blinded by the dark rush. A tree tore at her arm, sharp pain radiating like fire, but she didn't stop. The sound of her heartbeat echoed in her ears, faster than ever, drowning out reason and hope alike. Suddenly, a high-pitched shriek echoed through the trees, a sound that shattered her thoughts. It wasn't human, it was a horrible wail that seemed to emanate from nowhere and everywhere all at once, a sound of defenseless souls forever lost in the Watcher's realm. She felt its icy fingers clawing at her heels, trying to drag her back into the murk. Mommy! That voice, the desperation cutting through the veil of shadows, reminded her of the love that once warmed her heart, a flame flickering against the overwhelming darkness. In a moment of clarity, she recalled the symbols carved into the trees, glimpses of those taken before. Warnings of a fate worse than death. If she were to turn tail now, would she just be another whisper among the lost? Or could she save Lucas? Renewed determination surged through her veins as she spun back to the fire, fueled by a primal rage. I choose you. Her voice roared over the cacophony, drowning out the wheezing shadows that erupted from their lairs. She stepped into the firelight, heart racing, hardening against the creeping dread. The grotesque figure hissed, retreating slightly, recoiling as if the light were searing. Lucas! Come back! She stepped into the fire's embrace, yearning to pull him from the edge of darkness. But what if she was walking into a trap? What if the light wasn't salvation but a deeper pit of despair? The air shimmered, warping her surroundings as shapes danced into view. She reached out, feeling the heat of the flames at her fingertips, willing them to dispel the shadows for just a moment longer, just long enough to grasp her son. Lucas's eyes, glimmering with an otherworldly light, flickered back to her. Help me, Mom! But behind her, a low, guttural growl rippled through the clearing, threatening to swallow them both whole. The forest seemed alive with menace as tangled branches snaked out like grasping fingers. Caught between the choice to risk it all and potentially lose more than just her son, Jamie's heart sank. There was no way to tell if Lucas was truly there, or if she was crossing the threshold into a fate far crueler than death. As time stood still, she stretched her hand toward Lucas, caught between salvation and destruction, when suddenly, the ground underneath rumbled, and a chorus of horrific voices began to chant, filling the air with a dreadful harmony. And just then, a chilling realization washed over her: the forest had awakened, and it wasn't merely an audience. What awaited her in the yawning abyss of fate? Could she pull her son back into reality, or would she, too, be consumed by the darkness? The light flickered one last time as the shadows surged forward, wrapping their claws around her. The shadows tightened, their grip like iron as tendrils wrapped around Jamie's arms, pulling her backward. She felt her strength waning, every ounce of determination blended into despair. The flickering light of hope, Lucas' fragile form, began to dim, swallowed by the encroaching dark. Mom! His voice cracked again, a ghost of the boy she once knew, desperate and unyielding. Hold on, Lucas! Jamie cried, desperation clawing at her throat. She fought against the shadows, legs digging into gravel and dirt, but the darkness was relentless. It hissed, 100 whispering voices intertwining, each one a taunt. Join us, they whispered, each syllable dripping with malice. She felt the edge of her sanity fraying, visions of her son flickered in and out, replaced by horrific images of ancient faces entwined in the dust, a chaotic melding of identities bound to the forest, forever trapped. Panic surged. No. With a burst of energy, she twisted, ripping her arm free momentarily. The firelight sputtered, and in that dim circle, she saw her son's eyes flicker again, filled with shimmering tears. They weren't just shadows, they were souls, the remnants of the lost, their fear mingling with her own. "Let him go!" Jamie screamed, knowing she was bargaining with something far worse than death. "I will not let you have him." A moment of stillness hung in the air, an unnatural pause, as the shadows recoiled, assessing the weight of her defiance. Then, a low, rumbling laugh started, echoing through the trees, vibrating through her bones. It shook the very ground beneath her feet, amplifying the oppressive dread. "What are you?" she demanded, furious yet trembling. "Merely the keeper," the darkness hissed. "The fallen, the lost, and those who seek, we are all his children now." "Then I'll take him back." Jamie's voice broke in the power of her resolve. "I will take everyone back." With renewed vigor, Jamie plunged back toward Lucas, ignoring the pain radiating through her limbs. She reached desperately, every muscle screaming, whether from the effort or the dread inhaled from the shadows, she could not tell. Their fingers brushed, and an electric shock surged between them. Lucas trembled, the figure of her son wavering beneath the weight of the darkness. She felt the spark of their bond, whatever was left of it, pulsing against the cold void. "Stand strong," she urged, the words tumbling out of her mouth like a lifeline. "You can fight it. You're still in there." The shadows tightened around them both, roaring like a tempest wind, threatening to tear them apart. Then, from deep within the gloom, a flicker of light broke through, something fighting back, something pure. "Mom!" Lucas shouted, this time with strength, with defiance. The monstrous form wavered, a mixture of boy and beast, the struggle evident on its grotesque face. "Do it. Fight back," Jamie urged, refusing to relent, even as the shadows lashed out, sharp claws grazing her skin, drawing crimson lines across her chest. She felt the cold grip of despair as more voices joined the chant, layering their curses upon her. Memories, faces, past lives caught in the web of this forest began to swirl around them, sticking to her like a suffocating mask. Would she be merely another soul in this nightmare, or could they break the chains? With every fiber of her being, Jamie seized Lucas' hands, gripping tightly, fighting through the darkness that sought to engulf them. "Together!" she shouted, clinging to hope as they both cried out with a force that shook the very fabric around them. But just as Jamie believed they might turn the tide, a piercing scream erupted, cutting through the night, the sound of 100 souls, splintering, roaring with anger. The earth trembled, preparing to unleash whatever was trapped within its bowels. And then, it happened. The shadows shuddered, and in that split second where time held its breath, Jamie caught a glimpse of something far worse than the darkness, a pair of glowing eyes, impossibly large and filled with an insatiable hunger. As the ground beneath them split open and the air thickened with the scent of decay, Jamie realized the deepest horror of all: the forest had awakened something much worse than shadows. Could they escape this hell, or had the true terror just begun? The earth convulsed, shadows spiraled tighter, and the horrid eyes narrowed, fixing on Jamie and Lucas with an intensity that sent a chill deep into her bones. They gleamed, hollow yet burning, two voids of malevolence that promised horrors beyond comprehension. "No!" Jamie gasped, trying to jerk away from the grip of the shadowy tendrils that sought to pull her into the maw of the forest. With her heart racing, she could feel the acrid stench of decay washing over her, thick and cloying. It gripped her throat in a vice, choking back her breath. "Lucas!" she cried out, reaching toward him, fear flooding her voice. "Hold on to me. We can fight this." The darkness recoiled momentarily, as though questioning the strength of their bond. Lucas, once more, flickered like a dying flame. Jamie strained to keep the hope alive, the little voice inside her whispering that love was a powerful weapon, but it was then that the ground beneath them let out a monstrous growl, and Jamie staggered back, almost losing her grip on Lucas. She felt the soil break apart, jagged teeth of earth opening up, revealing a void that seemed to pull the very light from the air. "Feed!" the voice from the shadows slithered around them, seductive and cold. Join the feast of the forgotten, we will make you whole. With a primal scream, Jamie yanked Lucas closer, forcing him to meet her gaze. His eyes were a watery reflection of desperation and fear. Look at me. We are stronger than this. She pleaded, squeezing his hands tightly. Mom, he whispered, trembling. I'm scared. She felt the weight of that fear sink into her, an anchor resisting her every effort. I know, sweetheart, but we have to fight. You are not lost. You are still here. We're together, and that makes us stronger. The shadows hissed, pulling tighter. Jamie felt herself slipping. The anger surging through her chest ignited a flicker of defiance. You want to take us? She screamed, the sound echoing through the trees, unnerving them momentarily. We refuse. At that very instant, the glowing eyes widened, and the shadows exploded outward, shrieking in rage as if her words had struck a chord. She balled her fists, feeling warmth spreading through her fingers, a pulsing light emerging between them. Lucas, now! They shouted in unison, voices merging a mother's undying spirit with her child's innocent hope. The light exploded outward, a halo of fiery warmth, pushing back against the dark tendrils that clawed at their skin. But the forest was vast and relentless. The shadows twisted and writhed, drawing strength from the agony of the lost souls it had devoured through time. The ground shook violently, sending them sprawling as jagged rocks erupted, forcing Jamie and Lucas to scramble back. From the gaping maw in the earth, a horrific growl resonated. Faceless figures rose from the darkness, their features twisted into grotesque perversions of human form. Jamie felt her heart skip as she peered into their soulless visages. Join us, they rasped, weaving a chorus of despair that chilled Jamie's blood. The air crackled, the whole forest seemed alive with dreadful intent, waiting for them to falter. Pausing for only a heartbeat, Jamie caught Lucas' gaze, and something fierce ignited inside her. We need to find the heart of this place, she urged, determination surging through her veins like fire. It's the only way. We can destroy it. As the fearsome faces swirled grotesquely around them, a dreadful realization gnawed at Jamie. The forest was alive in a way she hadn't understood. If they failed, they'd become another part of its dark legacy, consumed, trapped forever. Let us go. Jamie shouted, pulling Lucas to his feet, scrambling toward the source of the darkness where the earth had split open. But the figures clawed at them, an ominous certainty hanging in the air. Could they find that fragile source of light, or would they be consumed by the hunger that gripped the forest? As they ran, an echoing voice loomed, sinister and all-encompassing. You think you can run? The night is just beginning. With a heartbeat of dread, they plunged into the yawning maw of the abyss. Would they emerge, or would they become yet another lost chapter in the horrors of the forest? The world twisted around Jamie and Lucas, blurring into a terrifying kaleidoscope of shadow and noise. The light they had manifested flickered desperately, struggling against the oppressive darkness that clawed at them. Jamie held Lucas tightly, feeling the warmth of his small body against her as they plunged deeper into the gaping maw of the abyss. They landed on a cold, damp surface, the smell of wet earth swirling around them, mingling with something far more rancid. Jamie scrambled to her feet, pushing Lucas behind her instinctively. She blinked, trying to adjust to the dim light filtering from somewhere above. The sound of shifting soil echoed around them, an ominous reminder of the danger lurking just beyond reach. Where are we? Lucas whispered, his breath hitching. Is this the heart? I don't know, Jamie admitted, her heart drumming in her chest. But we have to find it. Stay close to me. As they stepped forward, the ground beneath them seemed to pulse with life. Jamie could hear faint whispers, like mournful cries carried on the wind. The shadows clung to the edges of her vision, winking in and out of focus. It was as if the very darkness was alive, watching, waiting. Suddenly, a streak of light shot across the chamber, illuminating a stone structure at its center. It was carved with grotesque figures, twisted and tormented, yet the centerpiece radiated a faint, pulsing glow. A heart, she realized, embedded within the stone, beating slowly, like the echo of a long-forgotten cadence. That must be it. Jamie gasped. We have to reach it. But as she took a step toward it, the shadows surged forward, morphing into dreadful shapes, forming barriers between them and the heart. One of the figures, a nightmarish version of a long-lost friend, reached out with a clawed hand, its voice a chilling blend of familiarity and malice. You can't save him or yourself. Join us, be one with the darkness. Stay back. Jamie yelled, clenching her fists. The warmth in her hands surged again, a flicker of the light she deconjured. You don't have power over us. But the figures laughed, a high-pitched cacophony that rattled her bones. They swarmed closer, a mass of twisted shadows that seemed to siphon the very essence of hope from the air. Jamie's heart raced, panic clawing at her throat. Mom, it's too many, Lucas whimpered, pulling back. Jamie could see the fear on his face growing, threatening to eclipse the fragile hope they had clung to. No. She took a step forward, forcing herself to shield him with her body. We can do this. I want to let you take him. Gathering every ounce of courage, she thrust her hands toward the heart, feeding it with her determination, channeling every memory of love, joy, and light she had ever known. The glow intensified, radiating warmth that pushed back against the suffocating darkness. The twisted figures screeched, their forms beginning to unravel as the light surged. But others emerged, more numerous, each grotesque face reflecting the anguish of countless souls consumed by the forest's hunger. They clawed at her, seeking to snatch the hope from her very being. Lucas! Jamie cried, her voice breaking. Hold on. We're almost there. But a sudden, freezing rush of air swept through the chamber, extinguishing the light momentarily. The shadows enveloped them, a cacophony of whispers rising to a fever pitch threatening to swallow her whole. In that instant, Jamie realized she had a choice: keep fighting against the dark legacy that had come for her, or give in and become part of the endless nightmare. She felt Lucas' hand tremble against hers, his fear like a weight pulling her down. Mom. His voice quaked through the suffocating shadows. What do we do? The relentless darkness curled around them, and Jamie felt despair inch closer. But deep down, a flicker of defiance ignited anew. She had not come this far to lose him now. We fight. She shouted, the determination burning bright once more. As shadows surged around them, Jamie understood, the heart wasn't just a source of light, it was a symbol of their humanity, their choice to resist. Then it happened, a crackling sound. The heart pulsed harder. The shadows screamed, their faces twisting into expressions of rage and fear. Could they harness that light to fight back the shadows once and for all, or would they succumb to the encroaching dread? And as the world around them darkened to an unnatural chill, Jamie grasped Lucas's hand tighter, ready for the storm to erupt. But as the fearsome howl echoed, she knew one thing for certain: the night was far from over. The darkness roared, a wall of cold air crashing against Jamie and Lucas. The heart pulsed ominously, like a taunting drumbeat shrouded in shadows. With each throb, Jamie could feel the dread deepening, clawing at her resolve. The grotesque figures writhed closer, their features blurring together in a horrific blend of familiar faces and twisted memories. Mom! Lucas screamed as one shadow lunged, jagged teeth snapping inches from his face. Jamie instinctively pulled him back, shielding him with her body. The whispers crescendoed into maddened screams, tearing at her sanity as she struggled to focus. Hold on to me. She shouted, desperation dripping from her voice. We have to keep moving. Jamie reached for the heart, pushing her palms forward, praying it would respond again. It was their only hope. The warmth shimmered out again, a fragile glow igniting between them and the encroaching dread. Light spilled across the chamber, making the forms flinch and hiss. Suddenly, a voice broke through the din, a soft, insistent whisper. That light, it's not enough. It slithered through the air, shady and serpentine. Jamie looked around, searching for the source, but shadows danced everywhere, each more sinister than the last. Fear, it cooed, oozing with malice. Let it in. Embrace the abyss. It's easier no. Jamie shouted, clenching her jaw. We won't give in. The ground beneath them trembled, a low rumble echoing through her bones. Lucas pressed against her, visibly shaken. She could sense his spirit waning, the threat of the darkness gnawing at his innocence. The heart pulsed harder, as if it sensed their plight, but the shadows pressed closer, determined to extinguish their last flicker of hope. With a sudden surge of courage, Jamie crouched and locked eyes with Lucas. Listen to me. We are stronger than they are. I promise we'll find our way back home. You trust me, don't you? He nodded, tears pooling in his eyes but a flicker of determination ignited within him. Yeah. I trust you, Mom. They squared their shoulders, taking a step toward the heart. The cold, clammy tendrils of darkness scraped across Jamie's skin like knives, threatening to cut her resolve. She could feel the night pressing down, heavy with despair. Keep your eyes on the light. She yelled. With a fierce roar of defiance, they dashed toward the heart, their hands releasing a brilliant wave of determination. The heart pulsated again, brighter this time as if empowered by their fervor, but the shadows screamed, their discordant wails splintering the air. Foolish mortals. A chorus roared. You think you can defy us? Join the inevitable. The darkness thickened, surging like a tidal wave, almost swallowing them whole. Jamie felt the pressure of their anguish weighing on her mind, trying to squeeze the very hope from her heart. Don't look away. Keep fighting. Jamie shouted, her voice raw, her breath short. She felt Lucas squeeze her hand tighter, their bond radiating strength even in the face of despair. As they plunged into the center of the chaos, the heart began to spin, glowing fully, as though awakening from a long slumber. The darkness shrieked now, feral and frantic, the air vibrating with a tension that seemed ready to shatter the world. Then everything exploded into chaos. Colors swirled, shadows recoiled, and for a heart-stopping moment they felt the world upside down. And then silence, the space around them shifted. Was it the light? Had they truly pierced through the veil of darkness? Or had they merely traded one nightmare for another? As the silence deepened, Jamie and Lucas stood breathlessly amid uncertainty, awaiting what came next. But from the blackened edges, the whispers returned, hushed and sinister. You think it's over? The darkness always finds a way back. You will soon witness your greatest fear. Jamie's heart sank, a chilling dread wrapping around her. What awaited them in this new silence? And what had they truly awakened? The silence clawed at Jamie's mind, pulling her deeper into uncertainty. The air around them felt heavy, thick like molasses, as if holding its breath, waiting. A sense of dread pooled in her stomach, and she dared not let it rise. Lucas stood tightly beside her, his small frame trembling but resolute. Mom. His voice barely broke the tension, a mere thread in the overwhelming quiet. Should Jamie whispered. She could feel something lurking just out of sight, a presence lurking in the shadows that refused to reveal itself, and then a sound. Soft at first, like a whisper of wind caught in the branches of a dead tree. But it grew, swelling with malicious intent. The whispers became coherent, wrapping around her like a noose. Do you feel it? The weight of your fears? They're coming to greet you. Jamie's heart raced. What did that mean? It couldn't just be her imagination. The air crackled with dark energy, as if the world itself was about to splinter apart. Stay close, she instructed, fearing the shadows might somehow hear her too. She felt the pulse of the heart fade in intensity, the warmth diminishing, shadows creeping back into dominance like a tide reclaiming the shore. Just then, blinding light erupted from the heart again, illuminating the chamber in a ghostly glow. Shapes twisted within the darkness, momentarily revealing themselves. Faces, friends, family, lost loves, each grinning in mockery, their mouths twisted into gaping smiles, their eyes hollow and empty. Jamie flinched, a jolt of old fears rushing to the surface. Lucas! Close your eyes. She snapped, shielding him as she instinctively turned her back to the grotesque display. But the moment hung like a pendulum in motion, swinging dangerously. The voices shifted to a high-pitched wail. You can't hide from your past, Jamie. You left them behind, and now they come for you. Tears blurred her vision as she felt the walls close in. No. She shouted defiantly, the sound cracking the air. I want to let you take me. But the shadows thickened, pulling on the tendrils of her past, dredging up memories long buried. The faces morphed into a collage of anguish. You will face them. You will witness. Each syllable was like a dagger, striking the core of her fears, forcing her to confront the guilt she thought she had buried. Images tore through her mind, the laughter of those she loved mixed with the howls of their abandonment. Jamie's breath hitched. Mom, I'm scared, Lucas trembled, his voice quaking in the oppressive air. I know, sweetheart. Stick with me, she urged, finding her voice again, grounding herself in the connection they shared. As if on cue, the heart pulsed brighter, a defiant flash against the despair surrounding them. But suddenly, the earth beneath them cracked, a fissure spreading wide as darkness surged through the split. From it, a creature unfurled, sinewy and tall, its eyes glowing with an unnatural light, its mouth stretching wide in a mocking grin. Witness it. It roared, radiating horror and 100 shades of malevolence. Jamie felt the world spinning again, and this time, she couldn't tell what was reality. The air grew colder, and she could almost taste the terror as her own fears roiled up around her. Farther back, she heard the whispers escalating into furious chants. Your greatest fear is not far behind. Then a deafening bang echoed through the chamber, reverberating through her bones that it was only the beginning. Mom! Lucas shrieked, panic surging. What have we awakened? As darkness loomed closer, Jamie had to make a choice. Would she confront the creature and the shadows of her past, or would she flee, plunging into the unknown yet again? The decision weighed heavily as the chamber darkened even further, shadows pooling like ink. What would the answer reveal, and could they survive the truth of the dark? As the darkness coiled tighter, wrapping around Jamie and Lucas, time hung suspended. The air brimmed with a thick, suffocating dread that felt alive, pressing down on them like a weight. Jamie's heart pounded in her chest, each beat a frantic reminder of the urgency to escape this waking nightmare. Mom! Lucas shrieked, his voice cutting through the oppressive gloom, snapping Jamie's focus back to him. She glanced at her son, his little body trembling, and a surge of fierce determination ignited within her. Stay close, Lucas. We can get through this. She shouted, her voice stronger now, defying the shadows that crept closer, clawing at the edges of her courage. But as the menacing figure loomed larger, Jamie felt fear claw at her throat. The creature twisted and contorted, remnants of everything she had lost morphing into a distillation of her grief and nightmare made flesh. Its malevolent eyes gleamed with wicked amusement, whispering secrets of her past, dredging up the faces of those she had failed. Witness them. It bellowed, tearing through her defenses, showing her the sorrow she thought she had buried. No! Jamie screamed, forcing herself to confront the phantom shadows swirling within her mind. She recalled their laughter, the warmth of their smiles, the memories locked away that she had been too afraid to face. Lucas, look at me. She said, grasping his shoulders firmly. We are going to defeat this thing together. Remember what we talked about. Our light is stronger than their darkness. In her grip, Jamie felt the warmth emanating from the bond they shared, the love that pulsed bright despite the shadows that sought to extinguish it. The heart's glow flickered around them, reacting to their resolve. Together. They shouted in unison, their voices melding, creating a harmony that reverberated through the stone chamber. Surging forward, Jamie directed every ounce of her fear, every shred of grief toward the grotesque figure before them. We will not let you win. You have no power here. She could feel Lucas's grip tightening, matching the intensity of her voice, their bond a lifeline woven through shared agony and unspeakable hope. The heart throbbed with newfound energy, feeding off the fierce light of their defiance, as tendrils of darkness quivered and recoiled. The pulsating warmth illuminated the chamber, pushing the shadows back for a moment, exposing the torment lurking within. In that moment, Jamie charged, drawing strength from grief transformed into determination, from love that refused to yield. They raced toward the flickering heart at the center of the darkness, pulses aligned, each push forward igniting the flames of rebellion, but as they neared the heart, shadows surged, gathering like a storm. Foolish mortals! The creature hissed, and the shadows rushed forth, absorbing the light around them. Time slowed as Jamie felt the pull of despair clawing at her. Fear threatened to yank her back into the abyss, consuming her in memories of loss. But sudden clarity pierced through, and Jamie straightened. No. We remember. The heart pulsed with every piece of their resolve, radiating a fierce light that illuminated the truth the shadows could only hold her if she allowed them power. This is not who we are, Jamie declared. With one final push, they reached the heart. As Jamie locked her gaze on Lucas, their hands entwined, she poured every memory of love, joy, and hope into the light. Together. They yelled, the pulse of the heart echoing with their merged spirits, a beacon of light against the consuming darkness. In that moment, the shadows hesitated, chaos spiraling as the heart erupted, bathing the entire chamber in blinding brilliance. The grotesque figures screeched, their forms shimmering, twisting in agony as the light burned them away, unraveling their shadows like smoke. One by one, the faces faded, their claws flailing, writhing in the light that consumed them. Stand strong! Jamie shouted, a fierce cry that blended with the echoes of lost laughter as the figures crumbled before her, shadows dissipating into the nothingness they had emerged from. At last, with a resounding roar, the darkness was sundered, the chamber collapsing into a torrent of light. As tendrils unraveled, the truth washed over Jamie. Love was an anchor, a bulwark against despair, and it beckoned them home. The ground shuddered, the air locked in that moment hung heavy with electricity, and Jamie held Lucas tightly against her side. The darkness fell away, light consuming it whole, revealing a sky washed in morning hues. They stumbled out of the woods, gasping for air, the sun blazing overhead. Relief washed over Jamie like a tide, pulling her into an embrace of safety she hadn't felt in so long. She looked down at Lucas. Mom? He asked, weariness but relief mingling in his voice. I'm here, Lucas. We did it. We're safe now, she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks, not from sorrow but the sheer weight of hope. They had fought against the shadows and emerged victorious, and together they would rebuild. As the sun climbed higher, spreading warmth through the once menacing woods, Jamie took a deep breath. She had faced the Watcher, the darkness that had threatened to consume them, and stood firm. One chapter closed, but their story was just beginning. Let us go home, she said, squeezing his hand. And as they walked back, Jamie knew no matter the shadows that surfaced again, they would be ready. Because love once ignited never truly dies. Now, here's the thing. If you loved this story as much as I did, you need to subscribe right now and hit that bell so you don't miss out on exclusive stories like this. Smash that like button because your support fuels our journey. Let me hear your thoughts, flood the comments with your reactions and theories. And please, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see the power of hope and love. Your support is what keeps this story alive.